بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome back, and this is the first part of the station of the awakening. And in every station we will discuss a different level of faith that the Muslim person is on in their journey returning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the awakening, according to many scholars, is the first initial station of faith. That sudden shock that the person goes through. But what are they waking up to really? They're waking up to the purpose of their creation. They're waking up to the reality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the reality of their purpose, right? The purpose of our creation is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we must know Him, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I did not create jinn and humans except to worship me. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse is explaining to us and clarifying that there is no other purpose for our existence except to worship Him. Any other purpose is negated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you see, this ultimate purpose is something that many people forget or they neglect, right? So many people are heedless regarding this ultimate purpose in life. And the reason for that is because they're driven by their desires and they're controlled by their desires. And for that reason, they remain in the darkness of ignorance. Ignorance of their purpose, of their reality, and ignorance of their creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some people, subhanAllah, are so immersed by their desires that they take it as their God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, أَفَرَأَيْتَ مِنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. Have you not seen the one who takes his own desires as his Lord? And this can only happen when a person neglects Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They neglect their purpose of existence, right? And so when the person forgets Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, truly they're neglecting themselves and they're forgetting themselves. And that happens as a result of their own doing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُمْ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, and do not be like those who forgot Allah, so He made them forget themselves. It is they who are truly rebellious. So we understand from this verse that our identity and the way that we see ourselves is directly connected to our purpose of existence, right? And so a person who is conscious, mindful of the purpose of their creation, of their existence, is a person who has an identity, a true identity that's interlinked with their purpose. And so the station of awakening is a station where one recognizes the darkness that they're covered by, the darkness of their desires, the darkness of ignorance, right? And the only way that they recognize the darkness that they're in is because of the light of faith that is placed in their heart. And that is when the initial awakening happens, right? And without light, one could not recognize darkness. And this sudden mindfulness within them allows them to recognize the darkness of ignorance and heedlessness that they're surrounded by. And it also allows them to recognize the path that will direct them towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what does this awakening look like? And what comes after it? And what causes this awakening? Find out on the next episode. وَجَزَاكُمُ اللَّهُ خَيْرًا وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ وَسَلَّمَ وَبَارَكَ عَلَى نَبِيِّنَا مُحَمَّدٍ وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ.